Mr. Variste, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Willie Thomas Variste III, DOC number 117808.
Thank you, Mr. Variste. Let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record, and then we're going to conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we will allow those persons who wish to have input to speak. Speaking on your behalf today is your sister, Kamala Davis. Also appearing but not speaking is your brother, Derek Variste. Here at headquarters, we have two in opposition, Mr. Anthony Maggio and Miss Deborah Maggio, and both will be speaking. At the end of the hearing, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board, and then we'll vote. Do you understand our process, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Willie Variste, DOC number 117808, date of birth April the 11th of 1969. He's classified as a second felony offender. He has a parole eligibility date of June the 22nd of 2024. He is not eligible for good time. He has a full term date of June 20th of 2044. He is currently serving a 40-year sentence on the charge of manslaughter, having been sentenced on January the 28th of 2005. Mr. Variste, is that information accurate?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Variste, your case has been assigned to Mr. Pete Freeman. He will begin our interview process. Will you please answer any questions he might have?
Okay, Mr. Variste, how old are you?
54.
Okay, and how long have you been in jail on this charge?
19 and a half years.
How much?
19 and a half
19
years.
and a half, okay. What's your educational level?
I graduated, I have a GED.
Mr. Variste, tell me what went on. Why did y'all go to the victim's residence? What was the intention?
My intention was to check on and see what was wrong with Mr. Mike, because that's what I call him. But when James come to ask me, he said, man, come see what's going on with Mr. Mike. So when I followed him to go to Mr. Mike condominium, once entering into it, that's when I seen that the damage had already been done. Mr. Mike was in the chair. I went to look at him and seen that he had a belt around his neck. So I went to the telephone to get the phone to call 911. The phone has been removed, yanked out the wall. So, and then I'm constantly asking him, what's going on? When he told me, he said, I come to holler at Mike about my money he owed me. I'm like, what's this? And he like, man, look, he wouldn't give it to me. And he like, man, look, all I need you to do is just cover for me. I said, man, I'm not covering for nothing. I say to the point, why you come get me and you done did this? The only thing where I messed up at is when I run out, because I ain't want no part of it, I didn't go down to that security booth. I decided it spooked me because I never been in that position. I just ran off. I didn't want nothing to do with anything. When I ran off, I went to my mother and them. I stayed at my mother that night. That next morning, my mother went to work and she called back to the house and she told me, she said, man, they got your brother on the charge. And that's when I asked her what it was for. And she said, they got your brother for the charge that this dude got killed in Brandywine condominium. When I explained it to my mother told me then, she said, man, turn yourself in. So I called Mr. Otis, he's a Baton Rouge City Police. We always been pretty cool friends. I called Otis and explained to him. Otis told me, stay put. That's who came and arrested me. And upon my arrest, that's when I told him everything that I saw when I walked into the apartment about what I seen and what was this. And they just went from that because he told me, he said, man, well, God said, you was with him. You helped him do this. You helped him do that. I said, no, I didn't help him do anything, but it was cowardly on my part. But when I ran out, I didn't go to that booth and report nothing. I just wanted to get away from the, I didn't want to talk to nobody because I didn't want to have no parts of this that it just happened. So after they arrested him, on his arrest, he admitted to what he did. But at the same time, you implicated me in something that I did not do. And I try to explain this through over and over, but the detectives and all them explain to me, you say, man, you put yourself on the scene, you put yourself in this position. So as the thing went on, I had a lawyer, Ron Johnson, at that time. Ron said, man, look, it don't look good for you because you put yourself on the scene and he didn't say this, he didn't say that. So to that point, he came with the plea bargain. The plea bargain was supposed to have been for 10 years. So upon my sentencing, I understood the fact that I can receive the maximum sentence of 40 years. But I wasn't looking to receive 40 years, and that's what they sentenced me to. And through the whole thing, and at that point, like I addressed y'all at the board, I wanted to let the family know I had no intentions of harming anybody. I had no intentions of robbing anybody or doing anything wrong. I was coming to see because in that community where we lived in Brandon condominiums, I help most people as much as I can, from mechanic work to the security as the kids getting in during curfew time, or as anybody doing anything. And I constantly did it because I worked at the store, corner store, where everybody used to come and see and holler at me all day because I used to sell CDs and DVDs. And, you know, with this incident and when that happened and what James made the statement, and it made it unstable for me to even clear myself of anything because I put myself on the scene. I ran away like a coward. I didn't want to say anything, and that's my fault. And it's very much my fault.
All right, let me ask you this then. So you knew Mr. Maggio?
I did his brakes on his car. I used to do in and out mechanic work for most people around the complex, you know.
Okay.
And then
this next question. So you knew Mr. Maggio had disabilities from a previous car wreck?
No, sir. No, sir. Because Mr. Maggio never told me that.
He didn't act like he had any disabilities, walk funny or anything like that?
He had it like
He was in a serious car wreck.
Yeah, he had it like a slight, you know, up to his walk, but I never, you know, really figured that he was in a car wreck or anything like that.
Okay, well, let's move on from that then. Okay, so you claiming you went there to his condo not knowing anything what your friend was going to do. You were just going to visit a man that you'd done his brakes before and seen him at the store.
That's
what you tell it.
When James come and got me and say, what's wrong? Come and ask me to see what's wrong with Mr. Maggio. I'm thinking something is wrong with it. So when I went to his condo.
Right, I understand. That's what you told us. Okay.
We went in the condo. This is what, and then like I seen, the damage was over. Mr. Maggio.
You on drugs that day? Alcohol?
No, sir. I don't have an alcohol or drug problem. Only thing I used to do.
Alcohol or drug problem, you got 7 14s. 7 14s, which is intoxication on your record. And you go tell me you don't have a problem with substances.
My 14s coming when I was at DCI.
Well, that don't.
No, because my 14s was from homebrew. And I got a 14 because of the smell. I was also video camera, went through the sobriety thing with hands and the balance and all that. I passed them, but it was that aroma. And I'm not gonna lie, yes, I drunk several times when, you know, guys that made it, you know, we just in it, you know, I drunk it with no attention or anything else, just homebrew.
All right. While we're on your disciplinary, what was the the theft for
The theft,
in
that
June
came
22.
June 22, two guys on my tip had a fight. We was sleep. I was asleep. At that time, I was a dorm rep. They woke me up because they had a fight in the TV room. They woke me up, but they used the excuse and they had water all over the floor and they had a little blood on one of the stools that he was rushing. Samuel Martin was rushing back to the phone and he slipped and hit his face on one of the stools. So when he woke me up, he said, man, I think I need to go to permit. So I called for the lieutenant and I went to the lieutenant about that we need to get him to medical because his eye was cut and he was swelling, and we need to get him to the infirmary. And so when he asked me about it, I said, well, pretty much what you see when he come in and he looked at the situation on the tier. He seen where the skid mark had the blood on a stool. So we went on and got him to the infirmary. Come the next day, when Warden Johnson, when he was here before he retired, they ended up checking him. And that's when he found out, he confessed that he had a fight. So when Warden Johnson come back and talked to me about it, and I explained to him, that's when he told me. And I said, well, and I caught him and I asked him, why would you lie to me to get me to lie to people that you needed medical attention? You slipped and fell and hit your face on a bleach, on a stool trying to get back to the telephone when you and this other guy done had a whole fight.
So what did you take? I mean, what's the theft for?
That's what it's for.
For taking a pipe?
Theft by fraud.
Oh, okay.
Not stealing anything, theft by fraud about like giving false information to get somebody medical attention.
Okay, I got you. Okay, you've had one prior period of supervision, it was revoked. That was back in 93, for an armed robbery charge. The DA, Tracy Barbera, for East Baton Rouge Parish is against parole, says you've not have done enough time for the seriousness of your offense. The family of the victim, the brother, Steve Maggio, is opposed, very opposed. And Greg Maggio is also opposed. And we got a bunch of letters from nieces and nephews. Bunch of heartfelt letters from nieces and nephews. I just want that to be on the record, saying how much they miss their uncle and how seems like he was the favorite uncle. You know, come over, bring them gifts, take them out to eat, stuff of that nature. Just seems like all out round good fella when it came to being with his family. I see you have a family. You have 3 children. You have any contact with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how old are they?
I got one daughter, she's 27. The other one just turned 22. I have an older daughter. She's like 41 right now.
What kind of classes have you taken?
I went through AA, anger management, mind, body, and soul. I just finished pre-release. I'm in living in balance. I think I have to apply for victim impact.
All right. Do any community service around the prison?
Well, I'm a boxing trainer. Most of the time, I have older guys, plus we have a Hawk program, which is, I'm a trainer in the Hawk program. This is for older fellas that some of them have disabilities, some of them have limited of doing certain things. We get them in the gym and we exercise, help them maintain a healthier life than what they was already doing. Some of them, they help them drop their weight, but some of them they consider as kind of obese, but some of them is heart problems as having too much weight on them at that time.
Okay. Do you have any medical problems? See where you went to the hospital a couple times.
I had a stroke
Okay.
in March 13, I had a stroke. But pretty much my body it's kind of getting itself back together, but at times my eyelids, they'll shut on their own and I won't get no relief of moving them at least for about 30 minutes to an hour. So during that time, I try to make myself go to sleep, let my body catch up with itself. You know, most of the time it works. Sometimes I have to be there a little longer, or I'll go to an infirmary.
Well, Warden, what do you have to say about Mr. Varese?
Well, like you said, he's currently involved in the programming, and one of the things we, would recommend if a decision was made that he complete living in balance, and of course do the victim impact class before anything else, done. He's also a Strive member. He's one of our Strive inmates, which is, he's been here since 17, and since he's been here since 17, he's had that one write-up. He's had that 122. I mean, he's been pretty good inmate since he's been here. Like I say, he's involved with a HAWK program, which helps a lot of guys with diabetes and overweight and everything, try to get their weights down and stuff, try to get them off meds and everything. So that's a good thing that he's doing.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
I have a question. Mr. Varese, we don't have all of the court records in our file here, so I've just got a couple of questions about that. You pled guilty to manslaughter, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Turner went to trial. He was convicted, got a life sentence plus 30 years. Did you testify at that trial, or did you have anything to do with that trial at all?
No, sir. The only thing at that trial, they brought me in for Mr. Turner to identify me.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay, a few questions. Mr. Wheeler, now I want to be sure. Now you said you were 54 and you have a daughter that's 41.
Yeah, I made her young.
I just want to be clear. Okay, you were 13. Okay.
I was 14 years old.
You were 14.
Yes,
You
yes,
didn't have your
ma'am.
birthday that year. Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure the math was right. Okay. What is your relationship to James Turner? What's your relationship?
James lived in a complex. They stayed across from us in the opposite.
So y'all were neighbors? Y'all were not related in any way?
No, we're not related. We're not neighbors.
I thought you said your mother said your brother got arrested. You need to turn yourself in. That's why I thought he was your brother.
I got my brother.
Huh?
My brother and his fiance also lived in the condominium complex. It was diagonal from us downstairs. So I guess, as they told me, when James went through a photo lineup, he ended up picking out my brother. And they went to go get my brother.
Okay.
When Mom called me on the phone and she told me about it, that's when I explained to her what had happened. That's when she told me, she said, Junior, turn yourself in. So that's when I got in touch with the arresting officer, Otis and Acosta.
Okay.
Came and arrested me.
So you stepped up and cleared your brother right off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My baby brother had nothing to do with it. He didn't go up there. I'm the one walked up there.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's what I was wondering. When you said your mother called you. Okay, so that was the brother, but James Turner was not. He was a neighbor in the same complex that all of y'all lived in.
Yeah. Well, it's different complex set in different orders.
Okay.
Our complex will face theirs. Theirs is on the end, coming from the front gate where the security gate is.
Okay.
You can see there, Mr. Maggio, you can see his condominium. You can see James, because at that time they stayed on the end by the stairs. Mr. Mike stayed in the middle. Mrs. Margaret, she stayed in the middle. She stayed in between them. As I was told, she was the one that seen James when he come out, identified James.
Okay.
James, once they arrested him, admitted to what he had did, but he tried to use me as a crutch, as the way of getting out.
He tried, he did.
All through his trial,
Mhm.
he come up with.
Let me stop you there, because I got what you're saying. I got it. James is older than you or younger than you?
He's younger than me.
He was younger than you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so he didn't want to be by himself. He didn't want to be by himself. Okay, so you were the older one, and you did odd jobs and stuff around the place. So the
Yes,
neighbor across the street did not ever identify you, but she identified James.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And James identified your brother.
Identify my brother looking at thinking it's me, because me and my brother, we look like.
Okay,
baby.
got it. Okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you. Now, you have a strong need for substance abuse treatment. What do you say to that? Do you need treatment?
I've been through all the treatment and then control myself as then, but I still can use additional treatment.
So what age did you start using anything? What age? How old were you?
I think I started smoking marijuana around the age of 13.
Okay.
That's the only.
Go
That's the
ahead.
only. That's the
Oh,
only.
okay. You stayed with marijuana since 13, age 13. And the warden has already pointed out, I had in my notes that from 2017 to 2022, you didn't have any write-ups. But before that, if you had a new institution, you kind of got things figured out. What do you think you need? If you're successful today, do you think that you can make it on the outside, making good decisions on the outside? Because I'm a little concerned.
I feel now, my mindset now is way better than it was 19 and a half years ago.
Okay.
I can maintain myself outside without any drug or alcohol or substance, because I really didn't drink on the streets. I just, like I said, I used to smoke marijuana all the time. But
okay.
I figured I'm more stronger than I was. Mindset wise, I'm more stronger
When you talk about stronger, you talking about stronger on what?
No, stronger mentally.
Okay, so as strong as what mentally? What? Stronger to not use drugs? What do you mean stronger?
Not to use drugs, not to be in any odd situation, because I never want to be in that type of situation where somebody get hurt. I never intended for anybody to get hurt. And what had happened.
Let me stop you there. Have you ever heard this expression about being able to read the room? Have you ever heard that expression, being able to read the room? Being able to smell trouble. Have you ever heard those kind of things?
I heard that expression.
You can maybe smell trouble, and so you go the other way. You just don't go the other way. That's what I wonder. About that kind of decision making, being able to kind of tell.
I can tell if it's not right, I'm taking flight.
Yeah, that's that kind of thing. If it's not right, take flight. Yeah. Because you might not get the explain. And they might not believe you when you explain. So if you're not there, you ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that's all I had, Chairman. Thank you for answering my question.
Now we'll hear from your supporters. We'll hear from Kamala Davis, your sister. Ms. Davis? You're on mute, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Hello.
Hi.
Speaking on Willie Thomas Variste III, I feel that his mind is very much stronger from our conversations, from writing each other all the time. I check on him mostly through email instead of phone calls. It saves more money to where I can actually possibly send him money and stuff like that. But I feel that his mind is very much stronger and he can survive. He can be successful out here in the world. I mean, he has so many. He's a jack of all trades. He can do anything. As far as jobs wise, we have jobs lined up for him. We have family that's waiting and ready for him. We're getting things together for him, for his clothing wise, make sure he has somewhere to live, making sure that we can get him to and from everywhere he needs to get to till he can get on his own feet, as far as getting his own transportation, his own place of living. We are here for him for that. Anything that the court says that he needs to be doing, we're here to make sure he does that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. Now we'll hear from the opposition. Mr. Maggio, Ms. Maggio, which wishes to speak first? Yes. And if you go to that podium right there. You would just introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to hear.
Anthony Steve Maggio, the older brother of Michael. Say that no, Mr. Variste addressed my brother to do. What to do? He was a very beloved brother. And thing I remember about the trial, Mr. Variste was in denial. He said, I had nothing to do with it. And I still see denial. Him when y'all said he had 7 counts of alcohol abuse or something of that nature. My brother was more than a brother. He was my best friend. We was like 12 months apart in birth. We were raised in the same room, went to the same schools, participated in the same sports, same George, Catholic high. In fact, when I was newly married, he lived with me. He was a favorite also. It was terrific. He was a very gentle man. We run a car wreck in 1975. We were fishing on that fishing trip, and he had a brain damage. He had 3 loads in his brain. He was disabled, but it affected his speech. He was very outgoing, like the fish and hunt. We didn't do those things. Very gentle man. Very gentle man. They preyed on me because they knew he was a gentle person. And how it affected me? I was so angry. I had to get counseling for a year. I was angry at my children. I was angry at my employees. It did affect me. I just could not get over that. In a better place now. Still grieving. In fact, I know what drugs and alcohol do. My wife and I, our daughter just OD'd on Thanksgiving morning, and I'm going through preparing a burial, funeral. So I know what they do, drugs and alcohol. And I've sensed from Mr. Variste that he thinks he can do it by willpower. He can't. Because if y'all let him go and he doesn't get help from their program, he'll be back in prime. Promise. He will be back in prime. So I would say also it's not affecting just me, but my kids too. My youngest son, he sometimes said it's like a boogeyman, we're a victim. But we still are. Go to his grave quite often, my brother. He'll never come back. He ain't come back, at least in this life. And I would just say that what they did was horrific in the sense that his loved one, my brother Mike, the loved one, should have been there in his last breath. That's a sacred time. But they were there. They were there. A life is very fragile, really important to us, So in conclusion, I would say at this time, some of the stuff he said, I don't know if it's true or not, I just take the word for him, but I would say I would want him to serve his full sentence. Can I ask one question? Sure. You had mentioned about the other fellow had 20 plus 30 years. What does that mean?
Well, it means he's in prison for life and he got an additional 30 years, I assume, for the armed robbery. That's the only information we had.
That's all right. Thank you.
Deborah Magic.
I was at the trial. And I remember the prosecutor said there was no way one person could strangle the victim with the belt. Mr. Variste, and when he had his opportunity to talk to us, He gave the same story. By the time I got there, it was all done. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I'll see remarks. I was hoping you're a very strong Christian, and I was hoping that I would hear him say, I'm sorry. I haven't had that closure. And to add to what my husband said, we have 7 children, and every one of them love their mother. It was special. And I didn't stay in for the autopsy report, but this plate fell out of his head, is what I understand. That means somebody beat him up too. There's more too. I will never know the story. But I do want to say this about the young man, James Turner. He said he was sorry to the family. Not nearly. I know he's been staying by, but he was praying that would change my heart. So I can't say release in my heart, but I will continue to pray for him. Because the boy is, we miss a lot of joy, future joy, because our loved one is no longer here. A great man, a great man. As his sister-in-law, I was like his sister too, if they were all 4 boys. And just praying that both of the traitors that killed my brothers, they will find peace and victory.
Thank you very much, Ms. Matthew. Mr. Variste, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to say toward the board that I'm sorry for everything that happened. During that time, it's even right now, it's even hard to explain because I've been trying to explain this from day one. You know, like I said, my intention wasn't to go to do anything to anybody, was to check on them. That's the same as, like I said, the security that ran our condominium complex in his trial testified that I was like a pillar to the condominium community. I helped anybody, not to hurt anybody. And like I said, my intentions going there wasn't to hurt, but this is what I seen. And I'm being honest. And like, I don't know how much this been played in my head over these 19 and a half years that I'm wrong for the part that I played by running away from the situation, not reporting the situation, putting myself in a bad situation. And doing that bad situation, like I say, I took the plea. I took the plea because the arresting officer, to the detectives and everybody, I placed myself on the scene. So I put myself at fault for what I did. I never, not to hurt Mr. Maggio, not to do anything to him, to see what was wrong with him. And I sincerely hope that they understand, and I hope they give me for being a coward that I was at that time. For running off and not wanting to say nothing, not wanting to be involved. You know, and then, you know, like during my sentencing, I was told that through the grace of the family, I was allowed to make the plea. But right now, I'm asking through the grace of the family that you see my part, that I never did anything wrong except being a coward and run away from something I should have reported. You know, that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Variste. Panel ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Variste, you know, I listened intently today. I hear what you're saying. You have your version of the events that happened and you're sticking to them. Which if that is what happened, that's what I would do also. But then I also look at the statement that you made to officers, and you admitted to being inside the apartment when the victim was robbed and murdered. That is a quote from you, from the arrest report. Your arrest. In front of your friend, you stated that you were in the apartment when he was robbed and murdered. So, you know, I just don't know what to think. I mean, you definitely, to me, you have a poor disciplinary record. I mean, I know it was 7 years ago, but when I first asked you about drugs and alcohol, it was like you had no problem at all with them. Then when Mr. Marabella questioned you, you opened up a little bit more and said, well, yeah, I did use marijuana and I drank a little bit and things of that nature. Well, to me, you must have had a serious problem if you had 7 write-ups and it was in a 1.5 year period that you had those 7 write-ups, and hasn't taken much treatment since then. My vote today is to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Wise?
Mr. Willie, to the Maggio family and to your family, I appreciate everybody's participation today, and I hear both sides. And I'm sorry for your loss to the Maggio family. I'm sorry for your loss. I just wish you redemption someday. For your generations to come. There's a thing that's said, the offenders say all the time, that you don't want to be marked by the worst thing that you did. So, you know, you want to have more history in your life than just the worst thing that happened. Mr. Willie, I'm just inclined to take a chance on you. It takes great fortitude to keep saying the same thing, whether people hear you or not, and whether if they write it down or not. It wasn't written down in the police report. You did what your mama said. You got your brother out of trouble. You know, you went and stood up and said what you had to say. And I admire you for keep speaking your truth. Whether anybody hear it or not, you are speaking your truth. And as a young man, that's all we can ask you to do. For me, my vote is to grant conditionally after you complete a long-term substance abuse program. I want you to sit on the front row in that treatment program. If you do, I'm just one vote, and you really pay attention and you really digest, because you start using drugs at 13, you start using marijuana at 13, there's a lot you missed, and you don't know what you don't know. And you got a lot of picking up to do and catching on to do. And you have a sweet family that you really got to lean into when you get, whenever you get out. And my vote is to grant, after you complete that program, you follow their recommendations for your release. They're gonna give you a release plan. You follow that release plan. And I want you to go to AANA meetings 3 times a week and get a sponsor. You need somebody to bounce things off of. That is my vote.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. I'd also like to thank everyone who spoke here today, especially the Maggios who encourage you to come here and to talk to us, to tell us about pain and grief. Mr. Variste, something doesn't add up to me. And, you took a plea to manslaughter. Oftentimes, and I don't know if you know anything about my history, but I was a lawyer for a long time. I was a judge for a long time. I know how the system works. I know how things work. I know oftentimes people take pleas when they didn't do something. That's a plea in their best interest. But it seems to me, knowing what I know about the way criminal trials work, and that's why I asked the questions that you asked. Had the district attorney and all of the evidence suggested that what you're saying is true, they would have used you as a witness, as opposed to having him point at you and saying you were the person that was involved in it. So I have to question your veracity, your honesty here today about what really happened. I am very concerned about the fact that you downplayed the fact that you have a substance abuse problem. You've had a number of intoxications while you've been in. But initially to Mr. Friedman, you said, "Nah, I ain't got a problem." He had, and we know that's not true. You've done a lot of work. You've worked hard. You've been in jail for nearly 20 years. I just don't think you're ready yet. So my vote likewise would be to deny. So you've got 2 votes to deny your parole and 1 vote to grant. So I hope you're encouraged to continue to do the work that you're doing. And once you get some more substance abuse treatment, perhaps reapply. Maybe you'll get a different outcome. But today your parole has been denied. Good luck to you.